Alright, so I started editing this video and I realized that it was going to be super long, so I split it into two parts. Part 1 is mainly about the content of your essay and how to create effective content within your essay. And part 2 is more about the logistics surrounding it, what to look out for when you're editing, as well as who to have it edited by, who should look at it, and more on that. Alright, back to the regularly scheduled content. Oh, one more thing. I forgot to say that I am starting a college essay application reading business, and I'm starting this with a few other friends. Actually, they started it before me. Why am I taking credit? I'm not a snake, guys. But I just wanted to mention that because my plug for this comes in the second video, and I basically wanted to just say that this is a service that's available to you guys. I do read essays, and our staff includes some very well accomplished writers and college application admits, and check the second video for more details. Alright, this time for real, we're going back to the regularly scheduled video. Bye bye. What's up YouTube, it's Josh. I'm back again with a new video, and this one is going to be about how to write a Common App essay. And it's going to serve a little bit of a preface also to when I read my Common App essay in a later video, which will be coming out very soon this week, by the way. And what I want to do in this video is to just outline some expectations before you get into the writing process, because I know that for some people, when they see these videos, they're really trying to take inspiration from them. And I think that if you come in with this mindset that I am going to lay out for you, it'll be a lot more helpful when you see these next videos, instead of trying to look at my essays and trying to copy them. Please don't plagiarize. I mean by copying, like trying to write them in the same style or same format or anything like that. So this video is going to be mainly about the Common App essay. This is typically the first essay that you get done, considering that your supplemental essays don't come out, or like the topics aren't released until like October or September and stuff like that. So this is early in the process, and this video is going to be how to brainstorm and write a good Common App essay. So the very first thing that I want to emphasize is the fact that when you write an essay, or when you look at other people's essays and try to draw inspiration, you are looking at the finished product in that sense. When you're first writing your essay, just make sure that you're not expecting immediate perfection. Remember that you're still going to go through edits, and you don't have to write the you don't have to write the perfect essay in one go. That was something that I personally tried doing, and I struggled a lot with it, and it was not the move. My essay personally went through 10 edits before it was finally in its final edit form. It took me very many months, lots of procrastinating, and the thing is, when I wrote that essay, when I first saw it, I was like, this is trash, I want to scrap it. That's your initial draft. It's okay if it's not perfect. It's okay if it's not good. As long as there's something about you in there, then it's a valid essay that you can start working on. So the second thing that I'm going to talk about is how to develop confidence about talking about yourself, really. I know a lot of people, when they write the Common App essay, myself included, wrote the essay and were like, what's interesting about me? What is actually of value to my personality, and what matters? The fact is, I didn't figure that out for a very long time. It's really hard to divorce yourself from the fact that you're still going to school, and a lot of yourself is wrapped up in the activities. But there's a little layer of hidden meaning behind all of those that you've tried, or that you've subconsciously been able to take away from all your experiences. And trying to find that hidden layer, trying to get behind the locked door of just subconsciously feeling how the world works around you, is something that's really hard to get into. So one way I've found that really helps in trying to do this is to try to talk and meet as many people as you can. One thing that I personally love doing is going to coffee shops and meeting people and just talking to people when I go do work. And the way that helps is that it desensitizes you from the fact that you have to talk about yourself and you have to introduce yourself, and in the process you kind of learn what things matter about you and what you want to present to other people and how you want to make that first impression, and that translates into your writing as well. So I absolutely love doing this. It's one of my favorite activities. Whenever I go to a coffee shop, I always make it a goal to talk to at least one new person, and just being able to make that connection with someone makes me realize what part of myself I am also presenting to them. Because of course, it all lies in the questions you ask and the questions they ask you. What things do people want to know about you? What things you value in other people? And being able to meet as many new people as you can, you sort of fall into a rhythm of basically what are the questions you like asking of other people and what are the questions that other people like asking from yourself. So if you're introverted, this is also very hard. I definitely was when I started doing this, and like once you get over it, it's so helpful. So as you build this confidence in talking about yourself, make sure not to be arrogant or hoity-toity or anything like that. Make sure that when you're writing your essay that there's not really self-deprecation, but more no putting down of other people. Make sure that it's all about you and making yourself look good and being confident in who you are, but at the same time not putting other people down in the process. You don't have to be better than someone else. You just have to be the best version of yourself that you can be. A third tip that I have is also to write as much as you want in your essay when you first draft it. So when you first draft it, don't worry about the word count. I definitely did at first, and I think that was the biggest criticism that my counselor had for me when I gave my essay to her to give me some feedback on it. She said that's the biggest mistake that a lot of people make. They get so focused on fitting it under 650 words that there's a lot of things that don't get expanded. So don't worry about the word count at first. Write down everything that's relevant to you, everything that matters in your essay or that you want to include in your essay, and then worry about the word count later. Because one thing you find when you're writing these essays is that you use a lot of unnecessary verbiage and you use a lot of unnecessary sentences. You become redundant at some points. So it's more important to get the ideas down on paper rather than meeting that size maximum. My fourth tip is to not ignore the ordinary moments. I think that's where a lot of people shine, because the truest version of yourself happens when people catch you off guard. And when something, or honestly, the truest version of anyone happens when you catch them off guard. When you're hanging out with a friend, for example, and your friend blurts out some like life-changing wisdom, that's their true self. So that's something that you need to observe in other people, and you also need to observe in yourself. And that's something you can make an essay out of. For example, in my personal essay, when I wrote it, I wrote about my daily life. It wasn't anything that was super specific. I didn't like cure cancer or anything. I didn't do some super selective research program or anything like that. What I did was I took what made me me, and that was my school. And frankly, that was enough to teach me a lot about myself and to, I hope, make myself more of an interesting person. So I came from a background that wasn't particularly atypical. I come from a privileged middle-class background, but I also went to private school on financial aid. And when I wrote my essay, I thought about how I fit in the context of my community and in the context of my immediate world. And I realized that there was this discrepancy in income between my family and other people that always came up for me as an insecurity, and that was something I made sure to write about. And the experiences that I included within my essay weren't really something that shook me to my core. They were just things that, looking back, I remembered and made a little bit of an influence on me. These experiences included the drive to school, conversations I had with other people, discussions I had with other people where our perspectives differed and I was able to relate. And that was something that I made sure to include in my essay. None of these would have been particularly special in any context, but I took a lot away from them. And that's the important part. I was just genuinely me, and this was my immediate life, and that was how I was able to craft my essay. Like, adding on to that point, a lot of people have tried journaling, and I guess that's a way to get down those ordinary moments, because sometimes when you look back, you don't remember the time you had a discussion about healthcare, for example. But if you write it down and later on you decide it's something that was relevant to your essay and something that was relevant to how you express yourself as a person, I think that would have been really, really interesting. My fifth piece of advice is to use as many personal experiences that are specific as possible. I'm not saying like, oh, the day was like a mild 78 degrees and I was wearing a sweatshirt and it was hot. I don't mean that kind of specific, you know? I'm talking about things that make your story feel real. I want to be immersed in your story, and so does the reader, and so does the admissions officer. The more names, proper nouns, specific experiences that you can include in your essay, I think it gets a lot better. Of course, you can go overboard, and I'm not saying to go overboard, but I'm saying to be as real as you can be. Just try to make your story feel as realistic as possible, and you can't be realistic when you're being super vague about everything.